Lesson 7. Lesson 7 we've titled Your Environment. And when it comes to the subject of environment, this is where a lot of us really we've never looked at it. We've never looked at this area of our health and really thought about how it interacts with our bodies. We've just kind of been pulled into this commercialized view of health in the U.S., which is dieting, maybe taking supplements, medications, surgeries, those types of things. That's when we think about health, those are kind of the first things that come up. But tonight, you are going to learn about how your environment interacts with your physiology. And it's very, very important to understand this because this is one of the easiest, most impactful areas that you are going to be able to take action on in your home right away. And actually, we're going to be able to help you save a chunk of money because you'll be able to stop buying a lot of products for your home that you have been accustomed to buying, and you'll be able to use just a few simple things. Okay, so let's get rolling on your environment, the science of your surroundings. First and foremost, environment is one of the most commonly overlooked areas of our health. In a general sense, this is one area that affects many, many people's health that is the most overlooked. Okay? A lot of people who are taking this course they're taking it because they have health issues or they have symptoms in their life that they'd like to get rid of. Environment and the chemicals in our environment or the energy in our environment affects our body's hormones, it affects our body's cells, and if it affects your hormones and cells, it definitely is going to affect your overall health. Can we agree on that in general? Absolutely. Okay, so most of us have never been told that we need to consider the relationship between our body and our surroundings when trying to maximize our health and resolve health problems. Remember when we started this whole process, we all wrote down health goals. So everyone who's engaged in this course right now has some type of goals for their health. You also have goals for your life. Those may be related to family, they may be related to career. I am telling you right now that the environment and the subjects that we are going to talk about here today are as important as what we've talked about up until this point. Because the changes you make when it comes to environment can turn things really fast. And they can actually turn things that have seemed kind of sticky. If it's been hormone issues, or if it's been allergy issues, or if it's been inflammation issues, getting rid of the toxicity in your environment and getting your environment supportive to your health instead of challenging it will make a big difference, and it'll make it fast. Okay? So the definition of environment, let's define what I'm talking about here real quick. The circumstances or conditions that surround one. Okay? So your surroundings. Number 2, the totality of circumstances surrounding an organism or group of organisms. It's pretty standard. The combination of external physical conditions that affect and influence the growth, development, and survival. That's important. All right, so anything in your environment right now that affects your growth, development, and survival is considered your environment. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about issues with drilling oil or fracking or, the natural gas stuff. We are talking right now about your environment. Everything that you come into contact with on a day-to-day basis is what I mean when I'm talking about environment. And then if you look at life sciences, it's the ecology of the external surroundings in which a plant, animal, or human being lives, which tend to influence its development and behavior. Okay? One of the things when it comes to behavior is that environmental influences, whether it's chemicals or energy, whether it's electromagnetic energy, which you'll learn about here, it influences the activity in your brain. And it influences the activity in your cells. And when you get things in your environment that are not complementary to your body, it's going to cause issues. And we're going to look at those today. And we're going to look at how to get rid of them and make very positive changes. So, how do we read the environment? How does your body read its outside environment? We interact with our environment through senses. Just like a radio frequency, how a radio pulls in a radio frequency, your body receives energy and frequency in the following ways, which is through your senses. Okay? You got sight. Does everyone know how you see? You have waves that are traveling through the air, and it's hitting the cones in the back of your eye, and then it's getting sent back into the visual cortex of your brain. Waves. The only reason you're seeing me right now is because there's waves traveling through the air that are going through into your eye and into your brain. It's just kind of weird because we never think about it that way. We never think about our environment as wavelengths and frequencies, but they are. Sound. The only way that sound can be created is with kinetic movement, with kinetic energy. So something actually has to push air to move it. So we get sound that comes up through vocal cords, and then it's a wavelength that travels through the air and it hits your ear canal and then goes through the whole process of its auditory process. Okay? Scent, very complex. Scent is extremely complex. How many people here have experienced smelling something and having your physiology change immediately? Pregnant women? Anyone ever had a baby? I mean, it's amazing. And you experience when your hormones shift, your scent will do things to you that you'd never experienced before. You'll have physiological changes that happen in a split second. So it's important to realize how powerful your scent is as a sense. Taste. You don't even have to taste something to get a reaction in your mouth. How many people have looked at a lemon and had this, what is that? Kind of a little cramp in the back of your mouth, that sour? All you did is look at it and you got that type of thing. But all of you know when you taste something, you get a reaction within your body. Taste kicks off an entire process within your digestive tract to get you ready for food. Produces more saliva, gets your pumps in your stomach going, gets you ready to eat. Touch, obviously touch and pressure is something that you feel all over your body. Touch is an extremely important sense. And then instinct. We're going to talk a little bit about instinct today. We're not going to hit it too far because it's kind of one of those subjects where we could probably talk for hours and days and weeks about instinct and feeling and going with your gut, that type of a thing. Okay? So these are the human senses. This is how we interact with our environment. All right? So all of these forms of sense bring in different types of information. Is that right? Different wavelengths. We see differently between how we take in touch and how we take in sight and how we take in smell. It's all processed differently. So it's information coming in from the outside world. And with this different types of information or feedback to help your body decide how it needs to adapt. Does everyone realize that your senses are there for a reason? That your body is using the information coming in from the environment to make changes and adaptations to survive at its best? That's what your senses are for, is so that you can move and adjust within your environment to be supported and survive. That's why you have sight, so you can move to food, so you can take care of yourself. Same thing with hearing and touch. All of those things are all about taking care of yourself. So your body is using your senses, you're pulling in this information, and then you're able to act on them. The stimulus is called frequency or energy. Can we agree on that real quick just before we go any further? The basis of absolutely everything is energy. Do we all understand that concept? The basis of everything is atoms, and everything is made up of atoms, whether it's a person or whether it's the floor or whether it's a video camera. It's all made up of atoms. Same thing as what you're hearing come out of my mouth. It's made up of all kinds of atoms traveling through the air in the form of a wavelength. Okay? So everything is energy. That's very important to kind of begin the conversation. All of our senses are programmed to detect frequencies and then transmit them to the brain to process the information and communicate it to the body. All right? So we're taking in all this stimulus, and then our body through our brain, through neuropeptides and all kinds of other processes, we're getting information flushed to the cells so that the cells know what's going on. Once we act on the information based on what we've been taught about the world and how the energy makes us feel, then we can do something about it. Okay? We act on it based on what we've been taught. So information received and transmitted through the body senses is how we decide what we're going to do with information that we've been given. One of the things that I want to touch on real quick, your perception of your environment is, everyone has a different perception of certain things, okay? So for example, a signal from your environment could be something that you see. Something that you see may threaten you, and another person may not be threatened. Is anyone afraid of bugs here, specifically maybe spiders or snakes? There we get some more hands. Okay, the reason that you have a fear of them is something in your life taught you that they could possibly harm you. There is a fear. And as soon as you receive the sight stimulus of a snake or a spider or something that scares you, you immediately physiologically react. Your body changes its physiology. You get ready to run, or fight the thing. Not many of you would probably want to fight it, but you want to run. And someone else who grew up in a home where the mom was a zookeeper or grew up on a farm, when I see a snake or a bug, I'm actually really curious about it. It doesn't conjure up fear in me at all. So it's important to realize that the things in your environment, you're perceiving them a certain way. So it's actually important now to start becoming more conscientious about your knee-jerk reactions to things and maybe changing the way that you see the world in certain things to support your body more so that you're not fearful in certain situations where maybe you don't need to be fearful, okay? So what are the different types of energy in the environment? We'll run through these real quick because some of them we're not really going to touch on too much, but it's important that you realize that energy comes in all different forms. First and foremost, chemicals. Chemicals come in the form of nutrients, elements, and synthetic supplements, or synthetic substances. Number two, electrochemical. Combination of chemicals that store and produce energy. Can anyone give me an example of this? Batteries. Batteries are a form of electrochemical energy. Electromagnetic, which is what we see as light, which is what the body is primarily made of. Kinetic is movement, so anything that moves can be measured in kinetic energy. Thermal is heat. And then 6, potential energy is just a mass. Anything that just sits there actually is considered potential energy because at any time, if it moves, it actually turns into kinetic energy. Okay? Electrical, which is any type of energy current. Sound, which is waves created by kinetic energy, by movement. And then nuclear, which an example of nuclear would be the sun, or a matter that uses itself to produce energy. Okay? Very, very interesting fact about your environment. We're going to hit 3 of them that will get your mind turning a little bit. We have 186,000 miles of power lines in the United States of America. Has anyone ever walked under a power line and heard a buzzing? Just a quick question. If you can hear it, do you think the energy is contained in the wire? Let's back up the slide. If you can hear it, there is a wavelength that is traveling from the wire into your ear. You can hear it means all the energy that's traveling through the power lines in this country is not just staying in the power lines. How many people think there was 186,000 miles of power lines in 1920? There flat out wasn't. Our environment is changing around us. And we need to be aware of what's changing because as we confront different health symptoms, we need to look at what's been changing around us to find out how we can solve some of these problems. Energy is one of those places. Environment is one of those places. Okay? Another interesting little fact. When we get back into the world of physics and atoms, it would cost more than $1 million to purchase the intrinsic energy in a penny. The actual atomic energy that makes up a penny, if we were to convert that into kilowatts and sell it, it'd be worth over $1 million at today's rates. Here's another interesting fact. This one applies a little bit more to your body. Each cell in the human body generates 7 watts of measurable power. Okay? So if you take every cell, which is 100 trillion cells roughly, and you take each cell at 7 watts, you realize that your body, just each of our bodies, carries around the energy potential of 700 trillion watts. We are the most powerful concentrated energy source known in the universe. Ounce for ounce, pound for pound. The body is an amazing source of energy. So it would be a little bit foolish for us to think that our body is a source of energy like this, and that the other energy around us somehow doesn't interact with it. Would that be kind of silly to think that we're these energetic beings walking around the planet, but the energy that we've put around us, whether it's in the form of light or heat or whatever, isn't interacting with the body? It just doesn't make any sense. So what I want to do is I want to look at how the body interacts with those types of energy and teach you a little bit about how you can make some changes in your environment to stop exposing yourself in areas you may not have even realized that you were challenging your body's health. Okay?